What's up everyone, OJ here. Welcome back to another discussion video, and today we're going to be talking about two games that we still need to see on the Nintendo Switch that were on the Wii U. So don't quite throw away that Wii U yet, guys. There's still a few more games, or at least a couple more games that I would really like to see. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get right into it. And the first one being the wonderful 101. Yes, this game, the wonderful 101, made by Platinum Games. Hideki Kamiya was the producer on this game, and this game is still only stuck on the Wii U, and it desperately needs a Nintendo Switch port. It desperately needs a sequel after that, the wonderful 102 or something like that. But I think since it sold so low on the Wii U, we would probably see a port first, and then maybe we would get some type of sequel or something like that. And we do know that Hideki Kamiya wants to port over the game. So for those who didn't have a Wii U or want to know a little bit more about the game, because obviously that cover was just amazing, the wonderful 101 had you as like a superhero task force, right? You have a bunch of different heroes, right, that kind of bind together with different powers to save the world and keep it safe from intergalactic terrors and everything like that. It was fantastic. It was a great game that had a lot of creative combat that was hidden in there. At first you just thought that you made these weird shapes and you just mashed the button, but as you played the game more and you acquired different powers, you acquired different wonderful 101 heroes, you actually found out that there's a lot of combos, there's a lot of different things that you can do in the game to make it a lot more like what you would see from Hideki Kamiya in the past, like a Devil May Cry or like a Bayonetta or something like that. It's not necessarily like you can see it at the beginning, but trust me, it definitely gets that in depth, and I love it for that, especially when you get to the higher difficulties, the hard mode and everything like that. And speaking of the higher difficulties and the hard mode, there was just some great unlockables in this game. Don't want to ruin it for anybody who hasn't played it yet, but it has been multiple years at this point. But there was some really cool unlockables in this game. There was a lot of great replay value, and I think one thing that they can take advantage of is the local multiplayer. That's something that I did not play enough in the game. There was up to 5 players local multiplayer in this title, and if they brought this one back, maybe with some online play in there, I think that would really greatly enhance the value of the game and kind of put it out there for more people. On top of that, I think that with the Nintendo Switch port of the game, you could smooth out the game's rough edges. The game did have some frame rate issues here and there, kind of bouncing between like 30 frames per second in some battles. It would reach up to high frame rates, maybe almost 60 in some areas, but then it kind of teetered between 40. It was kind of like all over the place at times. Definitely was playable, was good. It's not like you couldn't play the game or it was so bad or it was hitching all over the place. It would just be nice if they just smoothed it out at 60 frames per second, which I think that they can do on the Nintendo Switch with the type of hardware it has and everything like that. So to me, the wonderful 101 would be a game that would have to come over. And my last talking point about this game before we move on to the next title is kind of how integrated the gimmick of the game was into the actual gameplay mechanics. So you draw a sword or you put in a line of a sword and that gets you a slashing ability, which could get you past certain enemies, or if you needed a punch, a fist with the Wonder Red, or if you needed a whip to kind of hang on to something. I love that about this game, how really the different wonderful heroes that you had, Wonder Yellow, Wonder Red, Wonder Black, all of them there had their own unique theme and gimmick, but it was integrated so well that it didn't feel like it was overdone. It didn't feel like it was boring at any point. This game was a joy to play from start to finish with all the different things that you can do in there, kind of the downtime, the collectibles. I mean, there was just so many great things that this game did, and I think that if it got another chance on the Nintendo Switch, people would really gravitate towards it, and it would do a lot better than the original Wii U release did. This game was actually even supposed to have Nintendo characters, but Nintendo rejected the idea. It was supposed to be like Mario and Yoshi and all of Mario's friends or whatever as the different wonderful 101 characters, or more like the heroes, but Nintendo rejected the idea once they saw them kind of unite, morph into like a bridge, and then you like walk over them. Nintendo was like, nah, we're done with that. But it still turned out to be a great game in my opinion, and I'm hoping that we do get a chance to see this game again. So before we move on to the next game, guys, I want to ask you guys a question in the comment section. What do you guys think? Would you like to see the wonderful 101 back on the Nintendo Switch anywhere that you want? And heck, maybe even in handheld play, you'd be able to use the touchscreen to mimic what they did on the Wii U gamepad. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. All right, now moving on to the next game here. I think you've probably heard me talk about it before in previous discussions that I've had about Monolith Soft. I'm pretty sure you've heard other people talk about it, especially with Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Torn of the Golden Country, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and of course the original Xenoblade Chronicles. But yes, this is Monolith Soft's Xenoblade Chronicles X. Yes, this is a sealed brand new copy of the game from my collector's edition that you guys see back there. And yes, this game definitely needs to come back on the Nintendo Switch in some way. So let's go over some history with this so we can kind of know what's going down with it with an actual official port of the game. So Monolith Soft did come out and say, yes, we do know that people want Xenoblade Chronicles X on the Nintendo Switch. However, it would be very expensive to do so. So for those who don't know, this game on the Wii U was a bit weird, right? It was the only game that I can recall that actually had you installing data packs in order to play the game more efficiently. If you didn't install the big old huge data packs on a external hard drive or on your Nintendo Switch memory, you're going to get a lot more pop-in, you're going to get a lot more loading screens, you're going to get a lot more delay and things like that when it comes to the textures and loading time and all of that. Now, if you did install it, then it'd be better, but there were still some issues here and there because the Wii U necessarily wasn't built to run some of these big open world games, and Xenoblade Chronicles X pretty much was the biggest open world game when it was released. There was just so much landmass. It was such a different type of game than anything else that you saw on the Wii U. This is the most unique game on the Wii U when it comes to first party titles and what it did from a technical perspective. Heck, even from a combat perspective, it was a very different style of game than what you'd see with anything else that was on this system. And that's the reason why people want it to come back. They love the huge open world, which is still very good looking with the art, even to this day, still very good looking. They want to be able to experience that type of thing on the go and also on your TV. And it's still one of Monolith Soft's games that really took like the mechs and the building and kind of that construction of combat with it, like a Gundam, and took it to the next level. There's still no games from that point to me that have surpassed Xenoblade Chronicles X when it comes to it. On top of that, there's some really good online multiplayer that's a little bit confusing to kind of get into, and with a few different tweaks here and there that can simplify it and put it on the Nintendo Switch. But like Monolith Soft's president had to say, that would be very expensive to get this style of game going on the Switch. But I still feel, don't throw away those Wii U's just yet. It's still a game worth playing on the Wii U if you can play the game, if you haven't beat it, or if you already have one, definitely check it out. But I also think what makes Monolith Soft's X, or I always call it Monolith Soft's X just because that was kind of how it was introduced. I remember just being dumbfounded back in January 2013 when they first showed off that trailer, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is going to be like the greatest game ever made. I was still so dumbfounded, and back then it was called Monolith Soft's X, then of course Xenoblade Chronicles X. But I honestly feel that this is one of the games with the combat in there, the classic kind of Xenoblade style, that it could really make some waves on the Nintendo Switch. I actually feel that it would blow out the original sales of Xenoblade Chronicles X on the Nintendo Wii U, and with the type of way that Xenoblade has kind of been propelled with Torna and also Xenoblade Chronicles 2, I honestly feel if Xenoblade Chronicles X came out on the Nintendo Switch, let's say this year at the end of the year or even next year, I think it would outsell Xenoblade Chronicles 2 fairly quickly just because of the clout that Xenoblade has gained since it released on the Nintendo Switch, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and just because of the style of game that it is in terms of the open world and kind of, there's a story in there and it's great, but the story is not as emphasized like with the main character and everything like that, and the dialogue, there's just a lot of exploration in this game, which there is in Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and the original Xenoblade, but Xenoblade Chronicles X just has that huge, vast open world that you can just get lost in with all the different types of monsters and everything. And I think that that type of game, especially on the Switch where you can play anywhere that you want, would really just kind of propel people who maybe didn't buy Xenoblade Chronicles 2 because there's that 2, maybe they didn't play the original Xenoblade Chronicles, whereas this is Xenoblade Chronicles X. X. You know, not saying that it's a better game because of that. I'm just saying because of the increase in install base, right? From when Xenoblade Chronicles 2 came out to when this game would potentially somewhat come out or whatever. The install base would be a lot bigger, and all of the positive momentum from Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and Torn of the Golden Country would be transferred over to this game here. And everybody has heard how hard it would be, and I think the appreciation would come in droves if this game did come out, even though the game was already on the Wii U and did well, obviously did well enough for Nintendo to say, you know what, you guys have a budget, you guys have time, here you go, make a nice sequel to the original Xenoblade Chronicles, make another game. Monolith Soft's been getting bigger and bigger, so they're definitely making profit off of their releases. So what do you guys think about these two games here with Xenoblade Chronicles in addition to the wonderful 101? Once again, don't throw away your Wii U's just yet. These games still need to be ported over. But what else would you guys like to see? Obviously, there's a lot of cool games out there that could be ported over to the Nintendo Switch. I picked two of them that I thought would be the best ones. Let me know your thoughts and your picks in the comment section below, and maybe I'll make a future video on some of them. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Go ahead and check out the links in the description below. We got Facebook and Twitter. Go ahead and give us a like and a follow on our social media. Really helps us spread the content of PlayerEssence across the internet in addition to YouTube. Also, make sure you check out our Patreon, Twitch, and YouTube Live gaming pages. Hit that like button if you did like this video. Lets me know you guys want more content like this going forward in the future. And subscribe to PlayerEssence for this RPG, Japanese, and Nintendo gaming news. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you ninja for the next video. Peace.